Welcome to all of you looking to blend technology, teaching strategies, and emerging trends to create engaging educational experiences. In this video series, we're going to look at strengthening our creative muscles. Like any other muscle, our brain needs to be worked to allow creativity to grow. It's been said that we all have the muscle of creativity in our minds, but for it to consistently give great results, it needs daily exercise. Now, fortunately, there are websites out there like the eLearning challenges from eLearning heroes that can push us out of our creative comfort zone. So let's go ahead and take a look at one of these challenges and see what we can create. Alright, so for this video, we're going to look at knocking out challenge 384 from the eLearning Heroes eLearning challenges. Now, this particular challenge has us building out a custom character to use in a training or a lesson or something, but we've got to build them in pictogram form. Now, what's a pictogram? Well, think about those characters that you see like on a bathroom door. Those are pictograms. Now, they give us a few tips here and there. They talk to us about how to build the pictograms. They talk to us about how to think through the process. And here you can see we definitely need to have some accessories. But in the end, we're trying to create a character that is identifiable with an industry or something like that. We need to be able to tell who that character is. Now, as soon as I saw this challenge come across, I got to thinking, I've got to make this awesome. I've got to do my favorite Marvel villain of all times. So that's right, we're going to try and make a pictogram of the Mad Titan himself, Thanos. Now, this could either turn out really awesome, or this could turn out to be an epic failure. I don't know which way it'll go, but either way it goes, it's going to really help me stretch those creative muscles, and it's again going to push me out of my box on it. So, with that being said, I'm going to make this, I think, into two videos. One where we kind of think through it, get the idea of what he needs to look like, and then the second video, we'll go ahead and actually use some technology to build out that model that we brainstormed through. So with that being said, I'll put the link to the second video below once I get that one created. But for now, let's go ahead and jump in this thing and see if we can't start conceptualizing what Thanos might look like as a pictogram. So starting off, we need to kind of get a rough feel of what makes Thanos Thanos. Now, looking at some images of him, I think there's 3 or 4 things that really jump out and scream, hey, this is Thanos. 1 has got to be the purple skin. 2 is definitely the Infinity Gauntlet. 3 is the wrinkles, especially on the chin. He's really well known for that. And then 4 are the armor and the helmet that he wears. Now, when bantering around with my wife and some friends about it, most of them seem to remember him mostly from the Marvel movie Infinity War and not as much from the movie Endgame. In Infinity War, he didn't have the armor on as much or the helmet on as often. So I may need to go back and forth on that and see if we want to keep that on there. But for now, we're going to go ahead and build the helmet and the armor on him as well, just to kind of complete that effect. So now, I want to start thinking about this pictogram in layers. Fortunately, I have some time on my hands and I was able to start doodling some thoughts down on paper. So here is my rough doodle. Now, the big one in the main area is what I think Thanos would look like in pictogram form. It's using simple shapes, but it makes it look like him. If I want his arms and his legs to move in different positions, kind of like that construction worker example on the eLearning challenge site, I need to think of where those joints would be and where I need to build them into the picture so that that can happen. Now, that's where the picture on the right came into play. In the end, I don't think I'm going to worry about that right now. I'm just going to build a static front-facing Thanos, so I pretty much ignore that piece of the doodle for now. Once I have the overall look and feel down, it's time to start thinking of how to build these elements. I really had to think in shapes and layers. What shapes could make up this look? And once I had them, how do I group them together so that I can move them into one place? I also went ahead and made the decision that I think I'm going to try to build them into PowerPoint because that tool just seems more universally accessible. Now, personally, I'd rather build them into Photoshop because I'm more familiar with it, but most teachers and educators may not have access to Photoshop, and I'm also in a time crunch, so I didn't have time to go out there and download GIMP and play around with that, which is the free version of Photoshop. So with that being said, PowerPoint's the way I'm going to go, and besides, PowerPoint's probably going to give me a harder challenge, mainly because it doesn't use true opacity in its shapes. So if I want to cut out a curve or something, I can put a white circle over it, but then when I move it onto a blue background, that's going to look terrible. So going with PowerPoint, I decided I'm going to break these down into basic shapes, and I'm going to use the PowerPoint Shapes tool and build it up from there. So the items I needed to build with shapes were probably going to be the head and body, the helmet, the shoulder pads, and the glove. That is where all of these areas are detailed out on the drawing. Now the body and head are pretty easy. That's going to be a simple circle and some squares to make the arms and legs and the main body. The head will need to be on a separate layer or group because the chin is overlapping on the shoulder pad, so I'm going to have to separate that out from the body. Now the glove will need to be made out of rectangles, maybe some triangles, and the stones will easily be made out of some circles. We'll group all of those things together once it's built, and then we can move that glove as a whole onto his arm where it needs to go. Now the shoulder pads have some curves in them, and what I'm going to do is use some triangles and rectangles to try and give that essence of curves, because again, without the opacity features, that's just going to be too hard to build into PowerPoint. Now in the diagram, I only doodle out half of it because what I'm going to do is I'm going to build that half, and then I think I can copy and paste it and then just manipulate the size so that it mirrors it and will give me the full shoulder pad effect. The same is going to happen with the helmet, but the helmet's really more iconic than the shoulder pads, so I've got to add in a lot more rectangles and triangles to try and get the curves right, to try and get some of the points right. It's just going to take a lot more of those shapes to get it to really look and feel like Thanos' helmet. Now again, once I'm done with that, hopefully I'll group everything together, I'll make a copy of it, mirror it, then I can make that final one helmet in a giant group and move that onto his head, and I think it'll work. So I think that should pretty much get us there. It has the look and feel of Thanos in a pictogram form. Now again, I'm going to make a second video where we build it into PowerPoint and kind of go through it and make sure that it still really looks like him in the end. But right now, what do you guys think? Do I need to add something, take something away? I mean, I think it looks pretty solid. With that being said, I'm also curious, what would you guys build with this? You know, I would gravitated towards Thanos pretty close to the beginning. Would you guys do a movie character or a superhero or something like that? Or would you do something more of your profession, like try to make one that looks like a teacher or a nurse? So any of that kind of stuff that you guys have comments on, go ahead and post it in the comments below, because I'm just kind of curious to see what ideas we can get to spur off of that. Now in the meantime, I'm going to go ahead and see how this experiment with PowerPoint works. If you guys are curious to see how it ends up going, make sure you subscribe to the channel so that when I get that next video out, you can see what the end product looks like. Also, if you like videos like this where we're talking about technology, teaching strategies, blending all of this to make training and educational experiences better, make sure you also go ahead and hit that subscribe button, because we're always trying to push out that material to you guys just to make it a little bit easier for you. In the meantime, I'm going to go out there and get started on Thanos, and I look forward to seeing what you guys create too. Have a good one, guys.